Have you ever wondered how deep the roots of political corruption go in India? Let's take a journey back in time to the nascent days of independent India. The seeds of corruption were sown early in the soil of Indian politics, with two key scandals leading the way. The Jeep scandal, unfolding in 1948, was the first major corruption case in independent India. It revolved around the purchase of army jeeps from a foreign firm, with allegations of financial mismanagement. Then came the Mundra scandal in the late 50s. It involved the sale of shares to the life insurance corporation by Haridas Mundra, leading to the resignation of the then finance minister. This scandal was a stark example of how public funds could be misused for personal gain. These early instances of corruption set a troubling precedent, paving the way for a culture of graft and dishonesty in Indian politics. So it appears that the roots of political corruption in India were planted quite early on. Moving forward into the 1980s and 90s, we see an era of scandals and scams. India's political landscape of these 2 decades was marred by some of the most infamous corruption cases, which left a deep impact on the public's trust in the political system. 3 of these cases were particularly prominent: the Bofors scandal, the Hawala scandal, and the fodder scam. In the mid-1980s, the Bofors scandal exploded onto the scene. An alleged bribery case, it involved high-ranking politicians and defense officials who were accused of receiving kickbacks from Bofors AB, a Swedish arms manufacturer, for a deal to supply India's army with field howitzers. The scandal not only rocked the political world but also led to a major shift in India's political power dynamics. Around the same time, the Hawala scandal was unfolding. This case involved a network of brokers who were illegally transferring money outside the traditional banking systems. It's said that several politicians were involved, accepting bribes and using this network to launder money. The case exposed the deep-rooted corruption within the political and financial systems of the country, leading to widespread public outrage. Then, in the 1990s, the fodder scam came to light. This corruption case involved the fabrication of vast herds of fictitious livestock to defraud the government of millions. It implicated several politicians, further eroding the public's trust in their leaders. These scandals, among others, painted a bleak picture of the political climate in India during the 80s and 90s. They uncovered the pervasive corruption that had seeped into every level of the political system, from local government to the highest echelons of power. The public's faith in their leaders was shaken to its core, leading to a profound disillusionment with the political process. The 80s and 90s were indeed a turbulent time, shaking the faith of the Indian public in their political leaders. As we transition into the 21st century, the taint of corruption continues to linger. In the early years of the new millennium, one of the most shocking cases to rock the nation was the 2G spectrum case. The scandal was a stark revelation of the deep-seated corruption within the process of allocating 2G spectrum licenses. Billions of dollars were lost, and the scandal snowballed into a major political controversy, causing a significant dent in the public's faith in the system. Not long after, the Commonwealth Games scam unfolded, casting a long, dark shadow on an event that should have been a celebration of sportsmanship and unity. Instead, it was marred by allegations of financial misconduct and misappropriation of funds, further eroding the people's trust in the government's ability to manage public resources. Then came the coal allocation scam, a scandal that unveiled gross irregularities and corruption in the allocation of coal blocks. The magnitude of the misappropriation was staggering, amounting to billions of dollars. The scandal not only exposed the corruption within the system, but also highlighted the devastating environmental implications of such unchecked practices. These scandals, among several others, have left an indelible mark on the public consciousness. They've underscored the extent of corruption that can seep into the political system, tainting it from within. The aftermath has been a steady erosion of public faith and trust in the political establishment. The consequences have been far-reaching. Not only has it undermined the credibility of the political system, but it has also fueled disillusionment and cynicism among the public. The cycle of corruption, exposure, and lack of accountability has left many feeling powerless and frustrated, damaging the very fabric of democratic society. The impact of these corruption cases goes beyond mere financial loss. It's about the loss of faith, the erosion of trust, and the undermining of democratic institutions. It's about the betrayal of the public's trust and the tarnishing of the nation's image. Despite the advances of the 21st century, political corruption remains a persistent issue. Now let's delve into the current scenario and what the future might hold. As we navigate through the present landscape, it's evident that the shadow of political corruption in India hasn't entirely lifted. Despite robust measures to combat corruption, we still hear whispers of recent scandals. These include tales of illicit funds, rigged contracts, and the misuse of power for personal gain. However, the silver lining is that these cases are now being reported and scrutinized more than ever, indicating a change in public sentiment and a demand for accountability. The government, on its part, has been making strides to tackle corruption. Initiatives like the Right to Information Act have empowered citizens, enabling them to demand transparency. The establishment of the Lokpal, an anti-corruption ombudsman, is another significant step towards ensuring accountability. These measures, while not completely eradicating corruption, have indeed acted as strong deterrents. Yet the question remains, can we ever entirely rid our political system of corruption? The answer is complex. For one, it would require a seismic shift in the collective mindset, where corruption is not just frowned upon but is considered absolutely unacceptable. It would also necessitate stricter laws, more transparency, and a robust system of checks and balances. The road ahead, then, is a challenging one, but it's not without hope. The younger generation, with their increasing political awareness and demand for transparency, are likely to play a crucial role in this journey. Social media platforms, too, are emerging as powerful tools for exposing corruption and holding the powerful accountable. Furthermore, the potential for technological interventions is vast. Blockchain technology, for example, could ensure transparency and immutability in transactions, making it harder for corruption to take root. As we look towards the future, will we see a change in the tide, or will the shadow of corruption continue to loom over Indian politics? The answer lies in our collective will to bring about change and a commitment to uphold the principles of transparency, integrity, and accountability. The road ahead may be long and arduous, but with concerted efforts, a corruption-free political landscape is not an impossible dream.